What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. We're going to have a look at this story coming out over the last couple of days. Elon Musk is in the firing line yet again. This time, they're calling him a traitor to the US and a war criminal. He should be put in jail, whatever you want to call him. Democratic left and the leftists on X. It's just funny because that's his platform, are calling for him to be thrown in jail for not marching us steadily towards a nuclear holocaust like they, for some reason, seem to want. Now, I don't know if you've been following the news, but they have brought up this old issue that's recently come out in a book he's released, saying that in 2022, last year, September last year, he did not open up the use of his Starlink internet satellites in the country of Crimea. Now, Crimea is technically Russia. They seem to ignore that point. They just seem to think that, well, whatever Russia wants, no one gives a shit anymore. Crimea is Russian soil, and so is Ukraine, depending on who you ask. But all in all, they want his head on a platter, and they're calling him a terrorist or a Russian asset. Whatever. The amount of names being thrown around on the internet is astounding at this point. But they want him stripped of anything, and they want Starlink put into the hands of, I'm guessing, the Democrats. But we'll take a look at this story here from Sydney Morning Herald. It's the least biased and disgusting one that I could find. And even then, it's still biased and ignorant. Elon Musk's refusal to let Starlink support Ukraine prompts call for probe. National Harbor, Maryland, SpaceX founder Elon Musk's refusal to allow Ukraine to use Starlink internet services to launch a surprise attack on Russian forces in Crimea last September has raised questions about the company's relationship with the US military. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall said on Monday. Kendall said the US may need to be more explicit in future contracts that services or products it purchases could be used in war. Excerpts from the new biography Musk published in the Washington Post last week revealed that the Ukrainians had asked for the Starlink support to attack Russian naval vessels based on the Crimean port of Sevastopol in September 2022. Now read that again. It says Ukrainians had asked for Starlink support to attack Russian naval vessels in Sevastopol. The US military didn't ask. So if Jamaica had just asked for him to support some sort of attack they were doing somewhere, North Korea even, he should just oblige and do what other companies and other countries around the world ask him to do, especially when it's going to cause World War III or a nuclear fucking war. So he should just do what the Ukrainian government asks him. He should just bend over and do what Zelensky. So when has he been elected to Parliament or to the UN or to the American government by the looks of it? When has he become Prime Minister or President in the US? When did that happen? I don't remember that going to a vote. I'm pretty sure some of the pundits I watch in the US would have raised a few questions. Musk had refused to due to concerns that Russia would launch a nuclear attack in response. Russia seized Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 and claims it as its territory. The fallout from the disclosure of the book continues to rattle Washington. Senator Elizabeth Warren has demanded an investigation into SpaceX after Musk acknowledged that he had blocked Ukraine from using Starlink for the attack. The Congress needs to investigate what's happened here, whether we have adequate tools to make sure foreign policy is conducted by the government and not by one billionaire, the Massachusetts Democrat said Monday at the Capitol. Musk, the chief executive officer of SpaceX, is expected to be among the technology industry chiefs to attend a closed-door summit with the senators of the Capitol on Wednesday. So some idiot Democrat is asking the question why the chief executive officer of SpaceX, Elon Musk, and the owner of Starlink, who is a contractor for the DoD, the Defense Department of the United States, why he isn't abiding by the requests of a foreign government. America didn't ask him to turn the satellites on in Crimea, which is Russia. America didn't ask him to help an attack on Russia. America didn't ask anyone anything. Ukraine did. Since when does Ukraine get to boss around the Department of Defense? Where are they going with this? I'll tell you where they're going with this. They are trying to smear him and to paint him as a Russian asset, like they did with Trump over the last few years, as they do with anyone, Tulsi Gabbard even, that they are trying to smear him as a Russian asset and saying that he's helping Russia because he doesn't want mass murder and nuclear war, and he doesn't want to be the cause of it. So they're trying to take Starlink and SpaceX off of him. They're trying to say that he is complicit in the with Putin and his regime, and that they want that he wants Russia to win or something. I don't know, but they want to take Starlink off of him. What do the communists do when they first start? They seize the means of production. They're going to seize Starlink. They're trying to seize Starlink at least. I don't think they'd be very successful. I would hope that he would have a big red button that would just crash every satellite into the Atlantic, maybe into Washington, if they tried to force him to hand it over. That's what they're going for. They want Starlink. They just see how valuable and how life-changing and regime-changing owning something like Starlink can be. They just didn't have the forethought to do it themselves, so they let some rich South African dude do it for them, who's honestly, I think he's just trying to better humanity and extend our reach into the stars. But they can't control him. They realize they can't control him a little too late, and now they're running scared. Look at these stories that are coming out all over the internet. Al Jazeera, Russia's Putin praises Elon Musk days after Ukraine Starlink controversy. Elon Musk let Russia scare him, The Atlantic says. The Guardian, Elon Musk is a lesson in the dangers of an unchecked corporate leader. When rich people convince themselves that they are rich because they're smart instead of lucky and ruthless. He's not rich because he's lucky. I mean, that might have a bit to do with it. Maybe he was born with Down syndrome. I don't know if that counts as luck. But the mass amount of attack from the media that is going after him at the moment is insane. Twitter was trending. It's his platform. X is his platform. And it was trending with Elon Musk is a traitor. Jail Elon Musk for days. They want his Starlink. And do you know what they want to do with it? It's nothing good. Musk was not on a military contract when he refused the Crimea request. He'd been providing terminals to Ukraine for free in response to Russia's February 2022 invasion. However, the months since the US military has funded and officially contracted with Starlink for continued support. The Pentagon has not disclosed the terms of his contract, citing the operational security, obviously. But the Pentagon is reliant on SpaceX for far more than the Ukraine response, and uncertainty that Musk is on any other commercial vendor could refuse to provide services in a future conflict has led to Space Systems military planners to reconsider what needs to be explicitly laid out in future agreements. There was no agreement in place in the first place. He said he would donate some Starlink to Ukraine so they could get on their feet, organize some Red Cross, organize food, organize recovery, help people out. He didn't say he was going to let them use it to bomb and kill Russian people. He never said that. He actively said that was exactly what it wasn't designed for. It shows you that when someone like Elon Musk, who has the capability and the brains and the people around him, just say even with the brains, and he's got the money and the know-how and the business sense to get something as massive as Starlink and SpaceX up and running, and it's a global thing. Starlink could be like having the internet a second time over. Like, the massive amount of information that we can get to one another now is insane, and just being able to access it at the drop of a hat with Starlink is it's groundbreaking. I don't know whether he came up with the idea. I doubt it, but just being able to get it in place like he has. I know Starlink here in rural Australia is going to be massive for people. Be able to have businesses and communicate and get doctor's appointments or school over the internet, anything like that, even small things like that. It's going to help massively. And the first thing the Democratic Party, Joe Biden's government, wants to do with it is kill people. That's the first thing. And it's not just them. It's anyone on the left who used to be the party that said war was bad. Now they want blood on their hands. They want you to go out and spill blood. They're not going to do it themselves because they're all effeminate fucking LGBTQ flag-waving Democrats who don't do anything, have never lifted a weight in their life, couldn't possibly hold a gun in their hand because guns are evil and they should be banned. We'll just give them all to Ukraine. They wouldn't do it themselves, so they go and give it to someone else to do, and they want Elon Musk to do their dirty bidding, and they didn't even have the balls or the guts to ask him to do it themselves. They got Ukraine to do it for them. Elon Musk does not work for the Ukrainian government. Elon Musk doesn't work for Vladimir Zelensky. Vladimir Zelensky doesn't work for the US. Well, he might work for Joe Biden by the looks of this next impeachment coming up. We don't know. The gall of these people to say that he is a traitor to the country when he's done more for the country than the fucking last president's done. Joe Biden's done nothing besides a bumble and fall over his way through his presidency. The amount of crime increases, the inflation increase, the amount of deaths he has on his hands from his COVID policies and shit is insane. And they have the gall and the hide to call Elon Musk a traitor to the country when you've got Joe Biden out there selling state secrets, probably. Apparently, by the looks of it, that's what he's doing. He's giving his son all these multi-million-dollar contracts when he has no business doing, and it all turns out that all this corrupt business dealings just so happen to be in Ukraine, where they're sending, I think it was $150 billion at this point? They've spent more on the war for Ukraine. They've donated more money. The world has donated more money to Ukraine than Russia has spent on the entire program, the entire war effort. When are people going to wake up and realize that you're being fucked? Jesus Christ. They're trying to make Elon Musk look like this evil man who stopped them destroying Russia in this one fell swoop. Realistically, we'll have a look, actually. We'll have a look. This is what he had to say about the entire thing.
Yeah, but at the time this happened, the region around Crimea was actually turned off. Now, the reason it was turned off was, actually originally was because the United States had sanctions against Russia, and we were not allowed to actually, and that includes Crimea in the sanctions, and we're not allowed to actually turn on connectivity to a sanctioned country without explicit government approval, which we did not have from the U.S. government. So basically, Ukraine didn't give us any advance warning or heads up or anything. But we just got the sort of urgent calls from the Ukrainian government saying that we needed to turn on Crimea. It's like in the middle of the night, basically. And we're like, what are you talking about? Are we
up?
What's it for? We basically figured out that this was kind of like a Pearl Harbor type attack on Sebastopol, on the Russian fleet in Sebastopol. So they're really asking us to really proactively take part in a major act of war. While we certainly have huge support for the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian government is not in charge of U.S. People or companies. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know if you know anything about Russian history. Sevastopol is a deeply Russian, deeply historic place for the Russian people. If Ukraine was to commit some sort of mass attack on Sevastopol where it could sink their entire fleet or cause massive amount of destruction on the people of Sevastopol, Russia wouldn't just take that laying down. Russia doesn't take anything just laying down like that. That would create such a risk and such an escalation to the war that we're not technically at war with Russia. We obviously know better, but there has been no formal declaration of war from my country in Australia to the UK to Canada to America. No one has declared war. The UN hasn't declared war. This is a military exercise like Putin says it's a military exercise in Ukraine. He's got more claim over Sevastopol, Crimea, and Ukraine than any other country in the world. Ukraine, I believe in Russian, it literally stands for something like borderlands or the borderlands of something like that. It's literally Russia. Just because some World War II, post-World War II people decided they're going to start drawing some lines around places doesn't mean shit to Putin, doesn't mean shit to a lot of these Russian people. It doesn't mean, look at North Korea. They still believe that they're one Korea. They don't believe there's North and South Korea. They think they're just Korea. I mean, just because they make up arbitrary lines after World War II from governments who weren't even, they're not even the governments of the area. They expect it to all hold together. It doesn't work like that. This isn't a magical fucking Disney tale. Mind you, the amount of gay LGBT propaganda, you think it would be a Disney story by now. We're going to be keeping an eye on this thing. I mean, look what Canada's doing to Meta. I know I hate massive companies like Meta and Facebook and Google, places like that. I mean, look at the amount of censorship and look at the amount of backdoors that the government has into them. But they seem to be butting heads at the moment with the Biden government at least and Canadian government, and I know the Australian government as well. Just a story the other week where they're going to try to ban misinformation on the internet in Australia. They're doing that in Canada. Meta fought back by banning any sort of news story being shared on any of its platforms in Canada, which was disastrous to people trying to share news stories about roaming wildfires and escape routes and where you can get out to. It was disastrous for people in Canada because the corruption of their government trying to, I don't know, claw back any sort of control over these massive corporations. I think Elon Musk taking over X, or taking over Twitter, now X, has really put the fear into these governments. I mean, they don't want Twitter files V2 out. They don't want the Facebook files. I mean, can you imagine what the Australian government was asking Twitter to do back in the day of COVID and lockdowns and things like that? You can imagine what they ask on a daily basis. I'd love to know. I'd love to see the files. I'd love to see the messages that our Australian government has been, who and what they've been trying to look after and shut down on the internet. But we might not ever see those files. This is disturbing. If they are going after Elon Musk and trying to seize his assets, seize his company of Starlink or SpaceX, that is scary. That is George Orwellian, nightmarish shit. And I hope people realize how dangerous it is. I'm not worried about some evil, rich billionaire having a freedom of speech platform on the internet where people can get offended. That doesn't scare me. Freedom of speech is amazing, and I don't think Elon goes far enough. I mean, he should have Alex Jones back on the platform, but he doesn't. This is terrifying to see what the Democratic Party, it's not just, I know we're in Australia here. Like, it doesn't really affect us as much as it affects Americans. But they overreach onto things like Twitter and censor information about vaccines. They censor information about elections. You look on TikTok, anytime you mention the no vote, if you're following anything here in Australia, that's a massive, decisive thing at the moment. That's going to be changing the foundational structure of our country. And anything on TikTok, it's always got that little bit of misinformation, propaganda crap down the bottom that you got to click on to see what the government wants you to think about what you just saw. See what the government deems necessary for you to know. It's terrifying how much reach these people have. And if they got their hands on something like Starlink, they're not going to use it for good. They're going to use it for their demonstrative evil practices and their totalitarian dictatorship. It's something like out of Black Mirror. If you don't follow a lot of this stuff, I understand it's very depressing, it's very blackpilling, it's very sad, and you just kind of think, like, at the end of the day, after watching all these news stories, it's like, what's the point anymore? Just sign off to it. Maybe, just ignore it all and be a sheep and just go along with the whole program that they have going for you. It's a lot easier. It's easy to do. 99% of the people do it. Maybe after COVID, 90% of the people do it. I don't know. It's very easy to follow it. And it's very easy to not see all these things lining up and see all these things that governments are doing to us, taking away our freedoms every single day. We're getting to the point in Australia where it's going to be illegal to smoke cigarettes in a couple of months. Maybe before the end of the year, I'd say they're probably just going to ban it outright. It's illegal to vape in Australia. You've got to go and get a script from a doctor. I mean, vaping's annoying, but it helped me quit smoking. I don't vape anymore. I vaped for about a week, and that was about it, and it got me off quit smoking. It helped a lot. And they're banning that in Australia. They're basically banning us drinking alcohol by increasing the price so much that we can't afford to do it. We're losing freedoms every day. And if people like the richest person on the planet, apparently, unless you count Saudis who don't disclose their wealth, but Elon Musk, the richest person on the planet, one of the most powerful people on the planet, if he's getting arse-ended by the government and the media who work in tandem, that's a scary thing, because the amount of people that they're destroying and blocking and shutting down that are people like you and me that are just nobodies and nothing is insane. Like, how many people have we not heard of because they've been shut down by the government? It's terrifying. What do you guys think? Do you think Elon Musk did the right thing by not giving them access to those satellites? I think anyone trying to stop World War III is probably on the correct side of history. I mean, I can't see how that would have ended well. I mean, even if it was a success on the Ukrainian side and they killed all the Russian fleet, that's thousands of men and women dead. You realize that? Like, Democrats don't care. The leftists on Twitter don't care. That's blood on their hands because they're cheering for this war to continue. They're not cheering for peace. They don't want peace. They want Putin dead and Ukraine to control all of Russia. That's never going to happen. It's no way that will ever happen. That is impossible. It is more likely that God's going to show up and tell you that we're all wrong and we should be praying to Buddha or something. I don't. That is impossible. It's not going to happen. They're spilling people's blood without any sort of thought about it. They don't care. It's not their blood. It's not their brothers and sisters dying. It's not their sons going off to war and getting blown up by a fucking drone in a trench in the middle of some muddy hole in the field somewhere in Ukraine or in Russia. No, it's not them. They're never, System of a Down has a great song. It's why do the princes never fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? And the Democrats are the princes now, and they're not the poor. I mean, a lot of people think if you're a Democrat voter, you might think you're one of the poor people. But if you're able to sit there and cry about what you're getting told and you're getting offended on Facebook and you go and drink your $12 chai latte and you cry into your $900, $1,000 phone, you're not poor. You don't talk to the people who live in huts in the middle of the desert and can't afford to buy a phone or don't even know what a phone is. The kids that you see on documentaries that still get excited when they see a Polaroid camera or something. That's poor. That's poverty. You don't know what that is. What do you guys think anyway? Did Elon Musk do the right thing? Let me know down in the comments below and I'll see you in another episode. Don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below and I'll see you guys in the next video.